You know, you see it all the time. Some projects just knock it out of the park. They deliver exactly what was needed, on time, on budget. And then, there are the others. The ones that kind of fizzle out, miss the mark, or fail completely. Ever wonder what the secret ingredient is? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how to get it right from the very start.
Let me just ask you this, right off the bat. What do you think is the single biggest killer of projects? Is it a lack of money? Not enough talent? Maybe bad tech? You might be surprised to learn that it's usually none of those things. It's something much more fundamental.
Yep, that's it. It sounds so simple, but it is absolutely devastating. Think about it. Teams waste countless hours, dollars, and brainpower building these brilliant, elegant solutions for a problem that wasn't the real problem in the first place. But what if there was a way to prevent that? A roadmap to make sure you're aimed at the right target from day one?
Well, there is. It's a framework called DMAIC. Now, if you've been around process improvement, you've probably heard of it. It's this powerful, data-driven method that ensures you're making changes that actually matter. The easiest way to think about it? It's like taking your business process to the doctor.
And this doctor analogy is just perfect. First, you define the problem. You describe the symptoms. Then, you measure your current state. You run some tests. Next, you analyze the data to find the root cause, the diagnosis. You then improve the process by prescribing a treatment. And finally, you control it with follow-up checkups to make sure the fix sticks. Today, we're putting that very first step, define, under the microscope.
All right, let's really zoom in on define. We're dedicating this whole explainer to it for one simple reason. If you get this phase wrong, everything else you do is basically a waste of time. I'm not exaggerating. This is the bedrock, the absolute foundation for the entire project.
And I absolutely love this analogy. Kicking off a project without a solid, defined phase is like a construction crew showing up to an empty lot with a huge pile of wood and just starting to nail things together. I mean, sure, you might build something, but the odds of it being the house the owner actually dreamed of? Pretty much zero.
So where do we even start with this blueprint? Well, the very first thing you have to do is listen. Simple as that. We need to hear from the homeowner, our customer, to understand what they really want, what they truly need, and what they expect to see at the end of all this. Now, there's a formal term for this. It's called capturing the voice of the customer, or VOC for short. This isn't just casual conversation. It's a structured way to make sure that the entire project is laser-focused on the people it's supposed to help. But, and this is key, it's rarely just one voice you need to hear.
See, a truly successful project has to be a master balancing act. You've got the voice of the customer, who wants faster service. Then there's the voice of the business, focused on things like cost and profit. You also have the voice of the process. What are we actually capable of doing? And finally, the voice of the regulator, which covers all the legal stuff we have to do. The magic happens when you find that sweet spot where all four of these voices are in harmony.
Okay, so let's say you've done your listening. The customer has given you their wish list. But it's often kind of vague, right? They'll say something like, I want reliable internet. Well, what does reliable even mean? You can't build a project based on a wish. You need something more concrete. And this is where the magic happens. It's a tool called the Critical to Quality Drill Down, or CTQ. It's how you translate that vague wish list into a rock-solid specific shopping list. That fuzzy desire for reliable internet gets drilled down into hard, measurable targets, 99.9% uptime and latency under 50 milliseconds. Now that's something your team can actually build and measure against.
Awesome. So we've turned the wish list into a shopping list. Now it's time to make this thing official. We need to create that formal architectural drawing, the one document that everyone on the team agrees to and lives by. And that document, my friends, is the project charter. Think of it as the constitution for your project. It is the single source of truth. It spells out what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what success is going to look like. This is your #1 defense against confusion and that dreaded scope creep later on. So what goes in it? Well, every good charter has these key pieces: a super clear problem statement, a measurable goal, a solid business case for why it's worth doing, and, this one's huge, what's in scope and what is out of scope. Then you add in your milestones and who's responsible for what. Being specific here is everything. A weak problem statement is, our deliveries are slow. A great one has numbers. It tells you exactly what's wrong. 25% of orders are delivered late. And it tells you the consequence, a 15% drop in customer satisfaction. Now that is a problem you can actually sink your teeth into and solve.
All right, we have our blueprint, we have our team. The next thing we need is a map of the area. Before we can start improving a process, we have to understand how it flows today, who does what, where, and when.
A brilliant tool for this is called a SIPOC diagram. It sounds technical, but it's super simple. It stands for suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers. Just look at this restaurant example. It gives you that 10,000-foot view of the whole operation, from start to finish, and clearly defines where the process begins and ends.
And this analogy just nails it. The point of a SIPOC isn't to map out every little detail. It's like looking at a map of an entire airport. You can see where the terminals are, where the runways are, and the main roads connecting them. You get the big picture without getting lost trying to find a specific gate or a coffee shop.
Okay, next up, we need to get crystal clear on who does what. This is where the RACI matrix becomes your best friend. For every task, it clarifies who is responsible for doing the work, who is ultimately accountable, who needs to be consulted, and who just needs to be kept informed. You can think of it like a lineup card for a sports team. Before the game starts, you have to know who's playing first base, who's pitching, and who's in the outfield. A RACI matrix does the same thing for your project. It gets rid of all the confusion and makes sure nothing important falls through the cracks.
Okay, that was a lot of tools and concepts. So let's put it all together and see how this works in the real world. We're going to look at a hospital that was struggling with a huge problem, crazy long wait times in their emergency room.
Just look at how beautifully this all connects. They started with the voice of the customer. Patients hate waiting. They translated that into a measurable CTQ, wait time under 30 minutes. Their problem statement was specific. The average wait is 90 minutes. Their goal was clear. The charter focused them only on the intake process, and the SIPOC and RACI maps got everyone, nurses, doctors, staff, on the same page. They built the perfect blueprint before they even thought about making a single change.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Now that you've seen how all these pieces fit together to create such incredible clarity and focus, can you see why just jumping into solution mode is so incredibly dangerous? Skipping this phase isn't a shortcut, it's a recipe for failure.